Welcome. My name is Andrew Silva, and I'm your host of Dirty Canvas Podcast. In today's first episode, we'll be interviewing Peedee. He's 16, he's from the Stockton community of California, and for this episode, we'll be talking about his experiences with the foster care system. And something to look forward to is his experience with Christ and how Jesus has influenced his life today. Enjoy. Boom. All right. So, you're the first person we've had on here.
Yes.
Do you go by Peedee, Leandre? What would you like to go?
I go by Peedee.
Peedee?
Yeah.
All right, I got you. All right, cool, man. So, I'm Andrew Silva. I'm the host of Dirty Canvas Podcast, and I would like to get to know you a little bit more. So, just share with me your story, man. What's led you up to here so far?
So, what's led me up to here is when I was a baby, when I was born, I had drugs in my system. So my parents were using while my mom was pregnant. So I was in NICU for about quite some time. Got put in a foster care right then, and from there I kind of been in and out the system. So when I was first placed back with my mom, she was still using. She was smoking, doing whatever she was doing. So I kind of never had that space or that comfort nowhere. So I wasn't really used to that growing up. So when I was 4 or 5, I was getting abused, getting hit, marks, bruises. And I had 2 more siblings later when I got older. They were Hispanic. So, and I'm the only African American child that my mom had. So it was kind of race in between there too that had to play a part in it, because they would get treated good, then I would be the odd one out. Wouldn't get treated so right. I would get trapped in locked in rooms, wouldn't be able to go out. Fed PB&J sandwiches while everybody else had Taco Truck, Burger King, and stuff like that. So I was mostly the one who was the black sheep of the family, if that's what you want to call it. So I was introduced to drugs young. I was introduced to drugs when I was 7, 8 years old. That's when my mom and her boyfriend had me selling heroin, helped me go get it from people, bring it to them. They would smoke it around me, use it around me, leave it around my toothbrush and stuff like that. So one day, I, being curious kid, decided to take a hit. After that, I was just oh, okay. But I wouldn't use that. I was using marijuana. Then it started to progress to something worse. Yeah. Started to progress to alcohol, weed, pills, fentanyl, just
got worse and worse.
Yeah, perks and stuff like that. And then got taken away from them permanently around the age of 12, 11. So I had the choice to either stay or go with them. So I decided to leave. I didn't want to go back with them because I knew every time I go back, it's the same old stuff that happens. Yeah. Me getting abused, me getting hit, being treated differently, not being able to go out and stuff like that. So when I had that choice, I decided to leave that alone. I decided to, okay, let's go try something else. Yeah. Let's see if this works better. Yeah. Because what I was doing, it wasn't right for me at my age that I wasn't good enough for me to be doing, and I shouldn't have been doing it. But the environment, I always believe you are who you surround yourself around. Yeah. So if you surround yourself around gang members, people who rob, steal, kill, and all of that, then that's what you are. Because that's what you become. That's the only thing you know how to do. But if you surround yourself around people who go to work 24/7, people who take care of their families, people who are doing good in life, and not just sitting around doing whatever they want to. Yeah. You're surrounding yourself around people who how do I say it? People who know what they want, people who know what they're supposed to be doing and not just doing what they want. Then that's what you become. So it's either you choose one path or the other path, and then I was choosing that path where I was going downhill. So around 13, 14 years old, that's when I started gang banging, selling drugs, carrying around weapons and stuff like that. But then I was going to in and out of juvenile hall, met some people who wasn't a good influence, but I thought was a good influence. I was hanging around them every day. I was just thought that was cool. Wanted to be what everybody else wanted me to be because that's how I grew up. Didn't know how to fend for myself. So when somebody said, "Oh yeah, you're not like everybody else. You should be a gang member. You should do this and do that." So I went and did that. I went and showed everybody like, okay, yeah, y'all wanted me to be this, so now I'm this.
Yeah.
And then I started to realize that's not the life that I wanted because I started going to juvenile hall, missing out on birthdays, Christmas, and family events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Burned a couple of bridges with a few family members.
Yeah.
So it was just that was clicking with me. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life in a cell or either be dead or in a hospital because I was going around fighting people, shooting guns and stuff like that just because that's who I thought I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be that because I wanted to make my dad proud. Wanted to show my dad like, hey, this, you see, you ain't raised no punk. But at the same time, I didn't have to do that. I don't have to go gangbang or do none of that no more to show him that I'm not a punk because that's exactly what I was when I was doing it. I was a punk. I was a criminal with someone who didn't know what they wanted to do, someone who didn't know what they wanted to be, didn't have any life goals or a future at the time because I could have been dead, could have been in the hospital, in jail, prison for the rest of my life, wouldn't have been able to see family, friends, or even be at where I am today if I didn't decide to change my life around, if I didn't decide to make those life changes. So about a year ago, I want to say I was in and out of Mayor Graham, was still still going in and out of juvenile hall, fighting, selling, and playing with guns and gang banging and stuff like that, hanging around with the round crowd still. One day, I was at Mayor Graham. Me and my buddies had turned up like the night before. So we were drinking, smoking, just getting high, popping pills, and a whole lot of other stuff that we shouldn't have been doing, but we still did it because that also comes with pain. All of the smoking and drinking and stuff like that. A lot of people just don't do it just to do it. A lot of people do it because it helps ease that pain. Yeah. It temporarily relieves that pain from them. Yeah. Even though it's not the right way to do it, they tend to self-medicate. Because I tend to self-medicate when I was going through that. Like I would pop pills, smoke, drink, just do a whole bunch of other stuff I had no business doing. Even though I knew the consequences to it, I might have not knew them all the way, but I still did it, knowing that if I do it wrong, I'm gonna have a consequence. Yeah. If I do it right, I'm gonna have a good job. Like you can't. There's always not a reward for doing good. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to give without wanting something in return. So
that's facts.
When I was going through all of that, I was doing that because I was still trying to get over the fact that I wasn't with my mom. Yeah. Even though I chose not to be with my mom, that still hurt because I was abused, neglected, outcasted, and just treated differently. And that affected me because not only did her actions affect me, her words also too. It's like I said, I'm her only black son. So when it came to that, when she was using and stuff like that, she would say some very hurtful stuff. Like, I wish I never had a black child, wish I never had a black baby, I wish she was dead. And still to this day, that still hurts, but it doesn't hurt as bad as it did before I was able to realize none of that was my fault. None of that, why she said that or why she did that was any of what I did or who I am, because at the end, she chose to have a baby. She chose to have a kid. She chose to have a black child at that. So I look at that now. I don't look at it as, oh, I should have never came into this world. But really, I never decided to be born. I was just born because God had a reason for me. Rather, if it was going to be easy from the start or hard from the start, I was still able to climb those ladders and get through what I had to get through to be where I am today. Because I seen friends overdose. I seen people I call my brothers get shot and killed right in front of my face. I done seen sisters overdose. I done seen a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have seen at the age of 13, 14, 15 years old, because you never want a child to go through that. And I still, to this day, I still don't want to see nobody else that I call my family. You don't have to be blood to be family.
Yeah.
That's one thing a lot of people get mixed up.
Yeah.
They think that you have to be blood related. Most times, the people that are closest to you who are blood related are the ones who turn your backs. Turn their backs on you.
Facts. So
it's just like, at the end, you just got to do what's best for you. So coming back to what I mean about family's not always blood. I met my best friend a year ago. We was at Mary Graham too. We was just doing crazy stuff. One day, I had somebody had took her phone. I went to grab her phone. I got stabbed. I got jumped and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then she took me back. She had her mom come pick us up. Her mom picked us up. And that was my first time meeting her mom. And so we went back to the house. She was scared for me to meet her dad because she was like, oh yeah, my dad's strict. He's like, he doesn't like dudes. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll just stay in the car then. Like, just stayed in the car, just chilled in there. And then finally, her mom was like, you can't be doing them like that. Like, you got to let him come in the house and get some air because it was hot in the car. She was like, yeah. And then so I did that. I met her dad. Her dad was really appreciative of what I did for his daughter.
Yeah.
So they took me in as their own. They didn't know me. They didn't really even know my story all the way. They just see me as a kid who was fighting, gang banging, just doing pills and just doing all of that, doing the stuff that I shouldn't have been doing, but they understood why I was doing it. Yeah. They didn't judge me. They didn't criticize me for doing what I was doing. They didn't hate on me. What they did was help me. What they did was they brought me in as their own. They showed me what a family was, showed me what a family should be, showed me that even though that the world could be hard, there's always people out here who do good. So they took me in as their own. They called me their son. I knew them for 2 years, like a year or two now. So that relationship that we have is very special to me because they helped me get sober. They helped me get clean. They helped me realize I don't have to keep on being what everybody else wants me to be. Yeah. I don't have to be a thug. I don't have to be a gang member. I don't have to be a failure to society. I don't have to be that kid who was killed at 15, 16 years old, like the rest of my friends have been. I lost a buddy in September to a car crash. He just turned 18. He was about to turn 19 in December. So all of that, like just a bunch of trauma and tribulations that come all the way together to why I am where I am today. Wow. So when it comes to them, they're my support team. Yeah. And then I want to say a few months later, I started going to His Way church. Want to say back in like the mid of October, I started going. Then that's when I met Deborah and I met Stephanie. Yeah. And then so they helped me out too. Then as we've been joking about it like all day, like her sister and me are in a relationship, so like that also helps me too, because I go to her when I need something or when I feel some type of way. Even though that we're young, we still understand like stuff that we each other's been through. We try to be there and support each other. So it's all about the support team and the people who you surround yourself with. Facts. If you surround yourself with people who are filled with negativity and no motivation or self-love, then that's what comes onto you. Yeah. That no sense of self-love, no motivation, lack of wanting to do things and stuff like that. that brushes onto you because you're around that negativity. But if you put yourself in a positive situation and you start realizing like, dang, this is way better than what I was doing. Like, I realized that a lot. That no matter what I went through, that I'm better than what I was a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. So that is just some of what I went through and what got me to become who I am today. I always wanted to have a voice for the youth and voice for those who are going through the situations that I went through or are going through right now. Yeah. So they could understand that they are not alone. They're not by themselves, that they always got someone who can relate to them or someone who could possibly give them advice that could change their life. Yeah. Can help them out of the situation that they are currently in and to drop bad habits. Yeah. Rather if it's hanging out with friends or family members or going to parties, going to school. Because now you got a lot of teenagers dying at schools, overdosing at schools because of these pills and these drugs and a whole lot of other stuff. So
yeah, well, thank you for sharing that, bro. That was powerful, man. That was really powerful. And I wanna ask you something too. So growing up in, I mean, obviously you didn't have a great support system at home, no. Right? You lacked a lot of, you lacked that father's love. And that really pushed you to try to seek that love from other people. And what I've heard is like, wow, me trying to go find that love in these people, they don't really love me. Yeah. But it's like they're leading me down the wrong path. And like you were saying, bro, it's like who you surround yourself with is who you become. Yes. And so what was it like growing up, like not growing up, but like living in that like that foster care system?
So living in the foster care system, it's rough. Yeah. I still am in the foster system. So 16, turning 17 in a week or so. So so growing up in the system is pretty rough. Yeah. Like at first you don't understand what's going on. At first you don't get why you're there. Then you start blaming yourself. You start asking yourself, why am I in this situation? What did I do to get here? And why does everybody look at me funny? Because I say I'm a foster kid, because I said I don't live with my parents. Then when you start to realize like, oh, this ain't my fault. Yeah. Like it took me a long time to realize that me being in foster care wasn't my fault. I used to blame myself. The reason why is because my mom used to blame me. And it hurt because my siblings would blame me also. Yeah,
it's those word curses.
So it would just be me looking at the negative everything. So growing up, I was bouncing house to house. Like I said, Mary Graham Children's Shelter, I was there too for a while. I was group homes, juvenile hall. It's crazy. But then you got those you got some kids who are able to stay stable at a placement because of their situation, or they didn't have a similar background. Yeah. I mean, it's hard for everybody, but some people are able to cope with it faster and better than how I was able to cope with it. So it's all dependent on how the situation was or your mindset at the time. And growing up, like it hurt. It just hurts. It's always gonna hurt no matter what I do, where I am. It's always gonna hurt knowing that I wasn't able to actually have that stable family in the household that I wished I had when I was a baby, because of my parents' decisions and some of mine too. I'm not on up to my part because I done messed up also.
Yeah, we're flawed people.
So ain't no one perfect. So I just gotta brushed it off, got back up again and started doing better. Yeah. Ran from foster homes, then fought foster parents. Yeah. It's a whole lot of crazy stuff that goes on.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And then now that I look back on it, like it feels good to know that now that I know where I am and know that everywhere I possibly got kicked out at wasn't my fault. Like, I got kicked out of foster homes, wasn't treated right by social workers. Like, the system can use a lot of improvement in a whole bunch of different ways, but also you get benefits from being in foster care too. Like, you AB 12, extended foster care programs where they buy you get you an apartment for rent, and they just get you on your feet as an adult so you can start living by yourself.
Yeah.
And start making adult decisions. Then you have the other part where it's easy for them to accept you who you are. And being 16 and 15 years old, it's hard for a lot of males to get placed now, because a lot of them have difficult backgrounds. And so, like I said, I've been bounced around. So actually, a few months ago, I was on the verge of being sent to LA, to a max security group home, aka a prison. So, it was hard because it was difficult for me at that time because I didn't understand why, but the group home that I was staying at was getting shut down. So I had no one I can lean on to. I mean, I had my girlfriend and Stephanie and Deborah and all of them, but it wasn't really much they could do because it wasn't really up to them. It wasn't really much they could do to help me get out of that situation because it was shutting down because of the administrator. She wasn't doing her job. She wasn't doing the stuff that she was supposed to. So when it was going to get shut down, I had asked one of the group home staff if they would like to, if they could get me into their custody. Told me to give him some time. Gave him some time. Came August 18th to 17th. That's when he got approved to go into being a foster parent. That's when I was able to move in there. But at that time, it's like, dang, before I knew where I was going, it's hard when you don't know where you're going and when you're 15, 16 years old, or even just a teenager in general, because you're like, I just got comfortable somewhere. I don't want to mess up what I got going on, especially if you're doing something good. You don't want to mess up what you have going on because of the way that you're thinking. But then I was able to think like, okay, if I do go over here, I could possibly get back down here. I could possibly come back to Stockton, live my life. I said I would only have to be in there one more year. Then that's when I turned 18. But then it hurts when knowing that you don't know where you're going, especially if you're lost and you really don't have no one to depend on. But you're a small support team, and that small support team can do a lot of things.
Yeah, I feel like that's the key. That
you don't think. Yes, that is the key for a lot of situations, especially for us teens who are going through things.
Yeah. So what I really picked up too though on is that you mentioned how it's really hard for male teens to find apartments because of their difficult backgrounds. Yeah. And do you think that's like an issue right now, especially like because I mean think of it, it's like there could be a lot of stigma, especially with someone who grew up in the foster system, who is dealing with drug addiction, dealing with gangbanging, all different types of stuff. It's like they'll probably be less willing to put you in, and so it's like, do you think that's something that a lot of teens are facing right now, and that it's an injustice in this?
That is what a lot of teens are facing, male and females. Yeah. But then you got the ones that are trying to do good. Yeah. Who started doing good, who can't get into a home, who can't be placed in a foster home, or who a lot of their family gave up on them because of what they were doing. Never asked any questions of why they were doing it, just decided to do it. So when it comes to that, yes, there is a lot of injustice going on there because a lot of foster parents, when they get offered to take a kid in, they look at the paperwork. And the paperwork just goes off your past. It doesn't go off the 1, 2, 3 months that you've been doing good, or even the year that you've been doing good. It goes off the fact that you've been inside juvenile hall, that you fight, that you misbehave, that you're violent, aggressive. That's what they go off. They don't go off on how you're doing today. They don't go off how you're presently doing. And that goes for both genders, male and females. That's what a lot of foster parents do. But it's sort of kind of easier for females to get into a house than males, because a lot of people have the soft spot for females. Whether with the men, with the teenagers, they're like, well, he was grown enough to make that decision, so he's grown enough to live on his own. He's grown enough just to say whatever. And then that's where it comes. And then there's a lot of grief that comes behind a lot of stuff, like family members and stuff like that. And it hits home when somebody dies, just because you're young, you don't understand it fully. But then it gets to the point where it's like, now where do I turn to? Who do I turn to? How do I get through this? Yeah. But then you slowly start falling apart. But if you're able to face that problem head up first, you're able to not let that pull you all the way back down. Yes, it's going to pull you back down still, but once you get to the top, you're going to understand, okay, that's the reason why. Yeah,
it's like you're in a boxing ring, bro, and it's like, dude, life's just been hitting you, man. And it's like these different things you've been dealing with, like people are going to judge you for that. You know, they're going to see your canvas, man, right? They're going to see all these different things on your painting, man. But it's like they don't realize that was past. Yeah. Like that was in the past that those things were painted. But they don't realize the work that God is doing in you now, and they don't realize where you are now, right? And so, you know, man, it's like, dang, you know, it's like all these things I'm facing, but who's in my corner? Like you were saying, who do I have around me that's gonna be there for me, and that I can lean on, bro, in hard times, man, because we all need those people, you know, especially as youth, bro, because it's like, dude, we be going through stuff, and like people don't really realize it, because we tend to have our walls up.
And the reason why we have our walls up is for many different reasons. It's because we get told that we don't have a reason to be depressed. We also get told that we have no reason to be stressed, that we have nothing to worry about. Like, it's a lot of things, and that also comes from a lot of parents and a lot of people who have been through stuff, who has been treated the way that they're treating their kids, but they're not showing it. They're not knowing that's exactly what they're doing, because if a lot of people, a lot of parents and adults and just everybody in general forget that the way that they're treating their kids or treating somebody else, that's the way that they've been treated. And that's the only way they know how to treat somebody. Instead of trying to reverse that generational curse and break it, they're still carrying it on.
Yeah, it's the unforgiveness.
Yeah, so they're yelling at their kids, hitting them, stuff like that. It's okay to punish your kids, but in a respectful way, in an appropriate way. Yeah. And then telling your kids you have no reason to be depressed, you have no reason to talk the way that you're talking, you have no reason to cry, you have no reason to feel the way that you feel, or stuff like that, or doing the things you're doing. You don't know, because you're not asking your kid, are you okay? What's going on, man? And once you start doing that, after you done mentally abused your child, they're not going to open up. They're going to build that wall. And then, like I said, that's when that drug use starts coming in. That's when that alcohol and trying to mask it and medicate it. That's where it comes from. That's when that whole thing comes from, right there.
Yeah. Wow. Dude, definitely. I totally agree with what you're saying, man. And I think like what we can take away as well is just to forgive, to let go of past hurts, to let go of what people have done to us, because a lot of times it's the same hurts that people are inflicting on us. They've been hurt by those things, right?
You can forgive, but never forget.
Yeah, bro, exactly, man. So a question I'd also like to ask you, man, is, what what was your turning point? Like, how did you find God? Or what helped you? Like obviously we've gone over, being in a family environment. That's so important too, and
Yeah.
but what is there anything else do you think that has helped you along the way?
Say, um, the other thing that helped me become where I am and helped me along the
Yeah.
way to want to change is I started to realize, like, when I was gang banging and stuff like that, like, I was so caught up in it. When I stopped for like a day or two and just relaxed, was just scrolling on social media, looking at my friends' pages and stuff like that,
Hmm.
I realized, I said, whoa, said, was I really just doing that? Was I really just drinking? That was like, that's played out. Like, I'm like, I don't even like drinking no more. Like, I just see what I've been doing. That it kind of like, it humbles you
Mm.
when you see somebody else do it every day while you're also doing it every day. It's like, dang,
Mm.
I'm lucky I was able to break that habit.
Mm.
And then once you start breaking those little habits, them little habits become good habits instead of bad habits. They're, trust me, every bad habit that you have, you're able to turn that into a good habit. Every everything is able to be good. And like along the way, I started meeting people. I uh started letting go of certain things. Started telling my mom how I felt.
Mm.
Started to get stuff off of my chest to clear my mental space, because without me doing that, I wasn't able to clear my mental space. I would have still been stuck into the little thing where I was trapped.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And church helps. I believe in God, so that that helps a lot too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, bro. Yeah, honestly, same with me, man. Because I didn't grow up in the faith or anything, but it's through TikTok, man. It's through social media, man. Like you were saying, a lot of times we see these things on social media, and they can really influence us.
Yeah.
And same with like opening up, and I think that's what we can also take away from this too is, to have community, but also open up about our feelings. Talk
Yes.
talk about the real stuff that we're dealing with. Not just try to play it off or hide it, but really get down to what we're dealing with and struggling with, and finding those people in our life that we can trust as well.
Always.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, man. Is there any other advice you would give to your generation, man, that's struggling with systematic issues, trauma, drug abuse, gang violence, anything
The
else?
advice that I would give is don't don't let your past define who you are. Let your future and your present self define who you are.
Mm.
You can't be trapped in the dark. You can't be trapped in a closet with with your with your past, or that's gonna eat you up for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You're not alone, even though you might feel like you're alone. There's always someone you could reach out to. Like, even though you might not think so, it's always good to write them down. Always find positive ways to let your feelings out, whether if it's through music, through shopping, through writing stuff down, through playing video games. It's always okay to find better activities to help yourself out of that situation. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Because and I got myself in some serious situations where I didn't think I was going to make it out alive. But here I am today. And so it's ask for help, and reach out to a friend that you trust if you feel like you want to do some things. And gang banging, yes, I understand that's a family, but it's not the family that you want. And a lot of us don't get to choose that. A lot of us are just born into it. So, and a lot of us that are born into it, we choose to just go along with it too, because that's all we know. But once you get older and you realize that that's not what you want to do, gang banging, seeing your friends die and stuff like that, that's not okay. And with the pills, just on the pill part, it's kind of touchy too, because I done had a few people pass away from pills, and I know a few people have too. So with that, I would say to be careful. To be careful what you're even prescribed medications. Be careful what you're putting in your body, because that also leads to addiction and diseases and stuff like that. So my advice would be don't let your past define who you are. Let your present self define who you are and your future. You're not alone. You're not alone. You got a team and people who want to support you. You just gotta be willing to able to put forth effort. I know a lot of my generation is strong. A lot of them are wise. A lot of them are smart, but we just don't use that. We don't put forth that effort or that energy or that time into what we actually want to do, instead of stopping all this stuff that we want to actually get done. Because you lose a lot of bonds, you lose a lot of stuff like that. So, like I said, my message is don't let your past define who you are.
Thank you, bro. Amen. Well, it was great having you on the podcast, man. It was a privilege hearing your story. And I believe that your message and just those simple things we can apply can really make a difference, man. And so thank you for being here, man. And it was great hearing your testimony, man. Great hearing your story. And I just want to say to you guys who are on the other line listening to this as well, that you may have experienced a lot of the same things that my guy Leandre has faced as well. But like, we can take these things that he's learned and we can put them into practice. And so just want to say thank you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you for letting me be on here today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right.